Then I was fertilized and became wise. I truly grew and thrived. From a word to a word, I was led to a word. From a deed to a deed, I was led to a deed. The children of Europe, raised in her fire and fury, have a history unequaled. Nowhere has witnessed such depths of tragedy or heights of glory. Mimmersbrunner is dedicated to celebrating both Europe and her children, to stir the sacred waters that animate, and to bring the ancient ways back to the forefront of the European mind. Through our work, we wish to rekindle those ancient embers of the European fire, and to once again hold our ancestors and their deeds in the reverence they deserve. To know your ancestors is to know yourself. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining me this evening. And at a new time slot, or new day, at least. Obviously, this is not Sunday night when we normally broadcast, but because of some things that we had to attend to in real life, last weekend at last minute, we realised we couldn't broadcast on a Sunday, probably for the foreseeable future. Although that has slightly changed, we'd already said we were going to broadcast Saturday, so we thought we might as well go ahead and do it. So we'll see how it goes and see if people like it or not, because obviously when we broadcast Sunday, it's a little bit late for those over in Europe, including myself. But by the time I get my things together, and it takes I think the last hour and spend mostly just trying to set all this up and make sure everything's working. I'm still getting a little bit used to it. I'm sure that'll get a bit faster as I go, but for the time being, it still takes a bit of time. So by the time I've sorted things out in the house and then sat down to do this, I need about an hour before I can even start. So hopefully this time slot may do a little bit better. It's like I say, given Europeans kind of stay up a little bit later on a Saturday generally. No work on Monday, so... But we'll see how it goes anyway. And I do apologise to the Europeans, obviously, as I am one. And it is a very late time slot. But tonight we're going to have a show on the nature of belief. Well, obviously it's a very big subject and covers everything. It underpins everything that we do. So I'm going to cover it in a few different ways. I haven't got any real strict notes tonight. I'm going to go a bit more off the cuff. See how that goes. We have people in the chat. If you want to ask anything, although I don't think I'll be taking questions tonight, but obviously we have the help of, as always, Riss, who is an essential part of this setup, Mimmersbrunner. But we also have Racial Consciousness in there, and Spartan Warrior Queen manning the chat. I can see them, but sometimes when I'm in my own thought, I get a little bit lost. And before we start the main show about belief, we're going to look at it, like I say, from a lot of different angles, especially that in leadership and how we can apply that and the importance of it in our lives. Because, like I said, it underpins everything you do, whether you know it or not. But like I said, before we get to that, I'd like to just thank everybody recently for their support. People have brought a few shirts, and we will be having a new shirt available soon. We're very happy, and a new logo. We're going to have to try and sort this out on the website somehow. We have got some reduced versions. I can show you the new logo for those that haven't seen it. Let's see if this works. There we go. That's going to be shirt, a little bit more understated this time. But and main logo is that one in the bottom right, but we have certain reduced versions so they can be printed easier. But yeah, I just wanted to remind people of that. We should be having them up for sale Monday. The reason I want to mention this is, as always, at the moment, as far as we've done so far with funds, and the reason I wanted to thank you is because this live stream is because of donators. And I mean, the equipment, even this screen behind me, um, was paid for by donation. We haven't taken any money out of it ourselves personally, and this T-shirt is to mainly fund a new camera, not just camera that we can use as a webcam, but one that I can take into the woods with me and maybe do some streams from there, or interesting places when I go visit these ancient sites around the country, maybe. So there might be something interesting there. So yeah, this is mainly to fund the camera because cameras are quite expensive, especially ones that do video and you can take around. A lot more expensive than I thought, but I'll leave the technical stuff up to Rick. Another thing I want to mention before we get into the mainstream is a project that I've got coming up, and I want to do a video for it, more poetic video. I will probably do a live stream on it too, and this is something that I'm going to do with a heathen group, an Odinist group over on Facebook. Something that's very important to me, a votive offering. I do them myself. I often take a hammer or some other piece of jewelry and thank the land, the waterways, the gods, the goddesses, the ancestors. I rarely ask for anything except for strength and courage to continue the fight for my folk and faith. But they're doing a great thing at the moment. I believe they call it beating the bound. And what that involves is they're offering votive offerings and streams and land alike around their native territory, securing it once again for the ancient gods and goddesses. Like I say, something that's very dear to my heart. And I sent them a hammer for free, and they're going to be using that in one of their ceremonies, and hopefully we'll have some pictures, etc. And to encourage this behavior, because like I say, it is very important to me. It is something that I believe. I've always put my faith before anything else. My faith is entwined in this land and my ancestors and their future. We are their children. And the gods and this land has been, for many years now, this land of England has been overtaken by foreign deities. And we want to bring the old ones back and mark their land. Not just the gods and goddesses, but the spirits and all the different things that live there. There are many, many. When you go through even the Romans believed that every single abandoned house, every rock, every place had in part some kind of spiritual essence, spiritual consciousness. And I believe to fully prosper as a people, we need to reclaim this land for them. Remember them, honor them. So what I'm going to do in teaming up with Folkish Odinism Dorset, but the plans haven't been laid fully yet, so there'll be more to come, but I'm going to be offering out quite a few hammers, the hammer axes that I make, like this one here, for free. I'll even pay the postage. And this will be to groups, hearths around the country, around the world, in fact, that wish to participate. And what they would do is just take pictures, show them offering the hammer or anything they've created. You don't have to use one of my hammers, of course. In fact, something you created yourself may have more power. I mean, one of the reasons I have no problem giving them away for this kind of thing is because I would be honored that my work is being offered to the gods and goddesses in such a way. So, like I say, there's no formality on exactly when this is going to happen, but I'm creating the hammers now and I will be giving them away. So if any group wants to participate, if they send me an email, I'm giving you guys here that listen to the the stream, a heads up. If you've got a hearth or anything like that wants to do something like this and would like a hammer for free, as I say, send me a mail and we'll see what we can do. I'm hoping to offer at least 9, but we'll see how it goes and see how many people want to participate. But like I said, there'll be more details on that in the future, but I think it's something that's going to be very powerful on a spiritual level. One last thing before I get into the main show. Our new channel, we hope to have a new video up on our new channel, Members Council, by Sunday. Like I say, pushing a little bit for time, but that's my fault. But like I say, hopefully Sunday we'll have an interesting video up on that new channel. I'll put a description in a link in the description once I'm finished. I just put the basic one up really fast before I start normally. But any relevant link I'll put up there. Like I said, but the votive hammer thing is not fully set in stone yet exactly how we're going to do it. But I assure you we will be doing it, and it should be a good project. Now I'll just take a sip of tea before we get on to the main show. Apple and cinnamon tonight, by the way. Okay, well, the main show here tonight is going to be on the nature of belief, as the title suggests. And like I said earlier, we're going to take it from many angles, and we're going to get some of the basics out of the way first, and some of the biggest questions and doubt belief. But we will be dealing with these as we go through it, because, of course, belief is often underestimated in the modern age. But as I said earlier, belief underpins everything you do, whether you know it or not. If you go to the kitchen, you have firm belief that you're going to make it. Is that why you do or not? I don't know. But if you didn't believe in it, you wouldn't do it. And it's as simple as that. If you go to do something, you believe in it. And if you don't believe in it, you're going to have problems. One very easy way to show the absolute belief in your actions and the doubts that come with it is just simply walking. We do it inherently. We believe we can, so we do. And one thing that I think probably everybody here has had happened to them at some point in their lives, if they've whacked their head on a lamppost or a wall, a door frame, because they walked as if nothing was there. And that shows you the power of your belief. That's the force hitting an obstacle. Yeah, that's a little bit stronger than you. And that's something that, and this is where the doubters, the people that want to put down belief will always point to. But there are certain things that it does not matter how hard you believe, you cannot go through. You cannot go past. And of course, that is true. But we know that with good planning, we could have avoided that with a little more awareness. We also see this in kind of new age thinking, where, if you believe enough, you can walk through that wall. Well, of course, you can. With enough determination and willpower, you'll get to the other side, but you might be a little bit bloody and bruised when you do. So there are obstacles to belief. But if we think about that example of walking, where we may have bumped our head, tripped on a curb, or whatever else may have happened, we always got to our destination. So the power of belief ultimately won despite the hiccup. We might not have walked through the lamppost, but we bumped our head and went round it. So I wanted to deal with that, but we will be covering the doubts a little bit more as we go on. Like I said, this is a little bit off the cuff. I've got a few little points here I want to make before I get into these are just the starter points, really, just covering a few things. But what people don't really realize about belief, it is not just thinking you can do it. We can get caught up in the abstractions of a project rather than the actual belief in it. We can look at desire and determination, and they're all good and well. But if your belief is in failure, then these powerful forces of creation will only work against you, not with you. And like I say, we see this in abstractions. I wrote an article on this a while ago where I talked about this a little bit. It was called The Magical Nature of Belief. Again, I'll put a link in the description. But where we've all decided we're going to start the gym or know somebody that has, and after a few months, they quit. We saw them put all their efforts into their planning. They got all the right supplements, right? They got their pen and paper out, and they were watching video after video telling them what to do. But they got caught in these abstractions, these reinforcements to their belief. And like I say, good planning is always good, but if the underlying belief is not there that you can achieve it, you won't. And it's that simple. And like I say, we'll get into detail on that. But these abstractions are almost proof that they didn't believe, that they needed to watch all of those videos. that they needed to buy all of those supplements. When I've worked out in the past, I haven't been working out for a while, as you can probably see, but my father was a bodybuilder, very successful in his small circle. Um, and after going to the gym with him and observing lots of people, I noticed that those that planned, those that did everything perfectly before they started, generally failed. And those that just went in there with the raw desire, the raw belief that they were going to be big and strong, normally succeeded. They didn't have any knowledge. And this is the point I want to make throughout this stream. That raw belief will get you a lot further than you think. And of course, planning has to come into it at some point. And as these people developed and trained and learned firsthand and took advice off others, they got better. But when they first walked in there, they didn't walk in with supplements or sheets on how to do each exercise. They just lifted the weight. And like I say, 9 times out of 10, that guy's going to go further. They didn't have a great diet planned or anything, but they had that raw belief and that raw determination served them. And this was also, of course, something very important to our ancestors. When I look back at our ancestors, I am often amazed, not just by the great monuments they built, but all the suffering that they must have gone through. And I'm often left to wonder, well, take, for example, The Consequence of Cowardice, the video that's probably our most popular. That was written at me looking at the struggle of Kimberley. They faced odds that were insane. And this would have happened all over the ancient. These absolutely insane odds against. Now, not everybody makes it. Like I say, we're going to come to that. That's going to the lamppost, right? Sometimes you come up against a force stronger than you. But we did. Our blood did us. We wouldn't be here. It's that simple. So when I think back to all of my ancestors that did overcome the impossible, to think of those that set sail for new lands, famine, war, disaster. And I was watching something the other day and I was reminded of this, that what's my threshold? It's okay saying I believe, but what's my threshold? What amount of odds stacked against me would break me? I'd lose belief, lose hope, and give in. And we see this in ways today. We have skyrocketing suicide rate. People give in. That the world has done too much damage to them. That they see in front of them an impossible task. And they break. And I'm not judging those people. I know that many people that go through such things have had terrible experiences that they cannot overcome. But our ancestors, everybody listening here, they didn't break. They carried on. So I often wonder when I look back, how much could I take? When would I go, you know what, this is not worth it? The terror, and it's not just survival, the terror ahead. How about knowing that your army had lost and the enemy were coming to your village? What would you do? And this troubles me sometimes because when you try to think of the darkest recesses of these thoughts, sometimes I do get the thought, well, I don't know if I could handle it, or I don't know if I could cope. I mean, this is especially important in today's age with the struggles that we face. And one of the reasons that I want to do this and go into a little bit, especially on the greats among us, whether it be sport or leaders or whatever, because there must be some underlying aspect to belief that I want to tap into. I want to know. Because as I said, belief may maybe have your bumps and scratches on the way, but belief will nearly always get you to where you're going. Even the raw belief. And I wanted to do a video on this. So I've been writing a video, and one thing that I do from time to time as kind of a distraction from all the other things is I watch documentaries on sports personalities, leaders, doesn't matter. Somebody that achieved the impossible, whatever field that may be in. Somebody that against all doubt, when the whole world doubted them, when no one believed in them, they came through. And the reason I do this is to try and understand what that underlying principle is. What gives them that strength to push through when nearly everybody else would quit and did quit. What made them do the impossible? And one thing that made me decide to do this live stream was probably a strange place to get this. But a while ago, I watched a video about a football manager, of all things. I used to be into football when I was younger. And there was a manager of a team called Nottingham Forest. Now, this won't mean much to the American audience, especially, but it's a quote I wanted to use of his that nobody quotes this quote. It's actually in an interview, but I thought it was one of the best one of the best ways to sum up the nature of belief, because it is honest. He says it off the cuff, and he's under a lot of pressure when he says it because of the nature of the debate. So I'm just going to give you a little background on this quote, and then I'll say the quote, and then we'll have a look, because it's really important. Now, as I said, Brian Clough was a manager, and he took over a team that was winning everything at this point. He'd already had great successes previously. He got sacked because people called him arrogant and conceited, etc. And he upset people with his bullheaded nature. And he's in an interview with the former manager and an interviewer of this team. And this other manager says, well, what did you want to achieve? Well, the interviewer asked him what he wanted to achieve at this club. This club had achieved everything. Well, he said, I want to win the league better than they did before. And the old manager of the club says, well, how can you do that? We only lost 4 games. And he says, well, I want to only lose 3. And there's a little bit of a tense nature to this debate at this point. But he says to the other manager, who's called Don, he says, well, what do you want me to do? I have to believe I'm better than you. I have to believe I'm better. I can do better. And then when asked by the interviewer if his ideas were a bit over the top, he responds, that might mean aiming for utopia. It might mean being a little bit stupid. But it's the way I am. I am a little bit stupid regarding this type of thing. I am a bit of an idealist. I do believe in fairies. And that is my outlook. Don's slightly different, and his record proves over result that he perhaps is right. But having said that, I want to be like me. Now, that quote is often overlooked, but I found it absolutely beautiful because it highlights all the doubt, but also shows the nature of belief. And we're going to get to it in the greats, but we'll unpack that a little bit now. One sec, I've got a couple of notes there and I've lost. Well, the first thing, he touches up on his stubborn nature. And like I say, this man was notorious for being conceited, arrogant. But he touches up on this in a strange way. He says that he's stupid, which might seem not very conceited, not very arrogant. But what he's doing there, he's acknowledging that when everybody doubts you, you have to be a little bit stupid to disbelieve them. And just to emphasize here, after that interview, he managed a lower level club and he got them promoted in the first season. In the next season, he won the top division. And in the season after that, he won the European Champions Cup, essentially the Champions of Europe Cup, 2 times in a row. And he did all of that with mostly a very average team when he took them over. And like I said, I don't want to talk about football too much here, but it's a nature of belief that we're talking. So he proved it. He backed it up. He did the impossible. No one's ever done it since, and I doubt anybody ever will do what he did. It's impossible. But he did it. And like I say, that quote shows how he did it. Because like I say, he touches upon the nature that he was stupid. He was probably the only person on the planet that believed he could do it. And that's the start. I think it was Henry Ford that said, if you believe you can, or you believe you can't, you're probably right. So the first step to achieving anything is believing that you can, regardless of how insane or stupid that idea may appear to others. So those doubters among us that go, oh, we look at the odds and we look at the reasoning and decide not to bother, we will never achieve that the stupid person that believes he can could. Now, it's not to say that the stupid person will, but he has more chance than us, right off the bat. So that is one thing that I liked about that it noticed. And it comes over as arrogant and conceited, despite him saying he's stupid. Because how could you believe that? How could you believe you? How can you believe that you can change the world? That you can do something that nobody else has done? How can you believe that? Everybody wants to tell you what to believe. Tell you what your limits are. And this is the importance of that aspect. These dream crushers they have already decided the limits of the cage or the cave in the famous Greek work. Right? They've already decided what the limits are, and it doesn't matter your experiences or what you believe, they're having none of it. They don't believe it's possible. So thus they try to pull you into their cave. They want you to believe that their cave is your limit. Because what nobody ever wants to admit is that they've lived their lives caging themselves. And this is why belief is so important, why it's so important for us. And one of the reasons I look at these great, because at this time, faith and our folk are in danger. We need to know what made the greats great, because we need to be great. Every one of us. And I want every one of us listening to this to be successful. If I can just impart a little bit in this live stream on any one of you that makes you achieve something that you would not without it, then I've done my job. Right? And we all need to have a greater and stronger belief in ourselves. Because at this moment in time, we are being hammered from all sides, telling us to not believe in ourselves, telling us to give up before we even start. They're putting the cage around us. We've got to see beyond its limits. But anyway, back to the unpacking of that quote. Another part I like about it is talks about, I believe in fairies. Now, he's just accentuating here that he believes in the impossible. Yeah? A childlike naivety, right? Because there's a reason only children see fairies, right? Now, we, as an adult, we might go, the reason children only see fairies is because they don't exist and it's their imagination. But to them, it's real. They see them. And like I said before, we can't see them if we don't believe in them. You can't see what's not there or what you believe is there. Now, I have a little personal story on this regard of when I took my children, the little folk, off to, we were by the seaside, and there was this magical little place in between the roads and the beach. And it was all overgrown and it was a little bit wild. And as we went in there, there was really tall grass around it, and a beautiful small little meadow with little flowers. It was the height of summer. And it was absolutely beautiful. And my children were about 3 and 4, or maybe 4 and 5, but now probably about 3 and 4 actually. And I managed to convince them that we'd gone to the land of fairies, that we'd shrunk because of this tall grass that was all around. And they bloomed and they fully engaged in what I was saying. They believed me totally. I'm their father. And they started looking everywhere because I said we'd gone to the land of fairies and that we'd shrunk. They started looking everywhere for fairies. They were looking under the flowers, in the grass. And as we went through these places, they saw fairies. I didn't see them. I only saw butterflies, but they saw them. And I may say that fairies don't exist, but in their reality, in their world, they saw them and they were real. And I've had experiences like this myself when I was young. And I can still remember seeing things that now I obviously doubt. But then when I had that belief of a child that it could be, it was. As soon as I stopped believing, it wasn't. And I could say again, we could be getting into the airy fairy there. People might be going, oh, the fairies don't exist. I don't know. I like to keep things open, especially with children. And children show us almost how we were intended to be. They come here fearless and beautiful. Their imaginations are wild. Their self-belief is insane. Their determination. Have you ever watched a small child doing a very small act? They give their full attention, full focus. The whole world revolves around what they're doing. They have no room for doubt. And their world is much more beautiful than ours in many ways. But as we grow up, we see the danger. We start to let the fear take hold, the doubt, the pangs of guilt. Everything starts to encroach on us and things become dangerous where once they were adventure. You know, it's only a child that can dance like no one is looking whilst imagining that the whole world is, right? They love the attention. And they express themselves freely. And as I say, they are how we enter this world. They must be the divine manifestation of what we should be, creators. And creators are believers. They believe in them. They believe in their ability to paint their picture on reality, not accept somebody else. And we'll get into that a little bit when we come to leaders, because leaders are exceptionally important in especially the manifestation of bringing this belief together. As I say, the lamppost might get in your way, but if there's enough of you, you can push it down with enough determination. And then there is no lamppost for those that come after you. And now to the last bit of that quote that I'd like to unpack. And I think the most important part. And I want to be like me, he says at the very end. Despite the result, despite all the reasoning, despite all the evidence against what I believe, that's not me. I want to believe. I want to find a way. And as I said, with this man, he did. His belief was that he could do it better. And he did. And like I say, his achievements have never really been equal. Nobody's ever done it again. He saw the fairies and showed them to the world. And it also shows us another aspect of this. That's something that the New Age lot kind of forget. You're not the only one that has belief. Everybody does. Everybody, because beliefs are your creation. It's what you believe can happen. It's how you operate. Like I say, it underpins everything you do. If you're making a cup of tea, you do it because you believe you can. That underlying belief is there. We see people, you can see this in people when they start a new job and they don't know what to do. They suddenly make lots of mistakes, suddenly doubt themselves. If somebody's watching you, suddenly that person watching you has made you doubt your ability to do it. Just like walking, I was terrible at this when I was young. If I thought people were looking at me, I'm walking funny, so I started to walk funny. I'm like, why am I walking? It's this doubt creeps in just from somebody observing you. Because you're worried about what they're thinking. You're worried about what they believe. Do they believe I'm stupid? Do they think I'm stupid? Oh no, I'm acting. So what you end up doing is creating their belief for them. As I say, this is how your willpower can undermine your belief, or be used against you. So everybody's creating around them, whether they know it or not. If you're on a job site with 20 people and 19 of them say you can't do it, you're probably not going to be able to do it. Because if just one of you tries, he's going to struggle, right? So you're creating the reality that you live in. And we all know people that have been around that have this unyielding belief that won't stop till that nut's tightened or whatever it is, yeah? And I just keep going. They believe fundamentally in themselves. And this is where the test of wills come. Like I said, we're going to get into that a little bit in a minute as we go through some of the things. Let's see where we're at here with my rough note. Actually, we're getting through this pretty fast. Maybe I underestimated how long this would take. Or underestimated. I thought it would be a bit longer. But I want to do a shorter stream anyway, so it's not a problem. But we will be taking a break in a short while. So the people that stay like them, the people that want to be like them, or what they're saying is, despite anything, I'm going to be me. And they are the foundation of world shape. They don't, where the rest of the world sees the limits of ability, they see the limits of the world, the imposed cage. They only see the limits of themselves, and if their limits overstretch that cage, they go to prove everybody that the cage isn't there. And we've seen this in many things. And we also must understand that how we imagine things, like I was saying about the wall. A lot of New Age people say you can walk through a wall, and like I say, you can. With enough determination, with your bare hands, you can get through a wall. Like I say, you're going to be bloody and bruised on the other side. I'm sure when people first said that a man can fly, right? Most people, because our minds are kind of simplistic, thought that they probably imagined a naked man flying through the sky. When the truth was that those that believed in it found a way. Yeah? They found a way to make men fly. They didn't just jump out of their window, right? Believing they found a way to make them fly. And this is something that you need to back up your belief with that determination, that all-consuming nature of belief. The next bit's actually quite interesting. It's quite a long stream. I don't want to start it before I have a break, so I'm just going to make a cup of tea. So I'm going to play, I think I've got set up a warrior ethos because it ties into belief a little bit. That being resolved in action. That's belief. So I'm going to play that while I grab a cup of tea. And if you've already seen it, feel free to grab a cup of tea yourself or any beverage that you like. And I'll be back in about 5. Right. Catch you soon.
Tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to your laws we lie. This simple phrase upon a hill in Thermopylae tells of the noble 300 and their adherence to the laws of their folk. Each was a warrior who had sworn to uphold Spartan ideal and reputation. In the completion of their duty through death, they became resolved in life. A warrior trains his body to be an instrument of war, and his mind to be at peace with his final breath. By his decision, his fate becomes his craving. Thus, for a warrior to be complete, he must not hide from death, but seek it. For a Spartan to fall gloriously in battle, in duty to his folk, was his gift and fulfillment. This desire to fall, to meet your fate by hand of worthy opponent, was shared by all warrior cultures. Harold Wartooth was a mighty king of the North and renowned warrior. Through his desire to meet a fitting conclusion to his noble life, he organized a battle of mythic proportion. By his command, thousands gathered. Champions from all corners of the North rallied, with dreams of Valkyrie to die sword in hand, to shimmer golden in one bold and final action. They charged forth. In this moment, their moment, they made still the chaos of war and silenced its drums. All their life, all its movement became refined to a single point, and they became resolved. Such was the desire, the longing. It was only by Woden's mercy that the battle was brought to an end. The sons of the North, the sons of gods, had proven themselves once again, not only as warriors, but as men of purpose, who in their mastery of war had revealed the secrets of life itself. The warrior becomes complete because he unifies both body and mind. Once aligned, they become resolute. All movement has purpose. All thought meets active conclusion. The chaos of life becomes an elegant dance. He watches as leaf falls when bird takes flight, as water rushes when dam breaks. All movement becomes ordered to a fixed point. The warrior, in his mastery of his craft, makes certain his conclusion that his fate is by his choice and his alone. In the modern age, distraction plagues the mind. Men become lost in an ocean of happenings when nothing really is. An endless stream of distractions present themselves before him, all demanding his attention, and with no intention of his own, they consume him whole. From one vice to another he falls, all the time clinging to his petty pleasures. He begins to fear himself. Even his own reflection becomes a source of shame. In his madness, the natural and the good all appear to dispossess him. Locked in a battle for self-preservation and pleasure, he becomes cowardly and self-serving. Nothing is his fault, as he becomes a victim of circumstance, hopeless and pathetic. followed by resolute action, and all action must be supported by unwavering thought. This is true for all life, not only that of the warrior. Just as he who brings his thoughts and actions in harmony begins to dance with life, a man who cannot will be dragged along by it. He will forever be pulled by its current, unsure of his fate. His every action will be punctuated by hesitation. His every thought will be overwhelmed by doubt. He will become lost in a whirling sea of chaos without hope. All life, no matter how small, must obey its natural duties and believe in itself and actions enough to see them to their ultimate conclusion. A man that cannot will never see life in its most beautiful apparition. Nature itself will become his enemy. Unable to see her beauty, he will see his very existence as punishment and his life as a hopeless endeavor. Even if you find yourself lost at sea, seize control of your ship. The winds that torment fools are the very same that deliver the skilled home. A storm is safer when out in open sea than close to shore. Your life is yours. Go, believe, and be certain of your course.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks everybody for being here, of course, as always. I did have a little note that we might be having some audio problems. That could be my internet. I've been having a little bit of a problem with the internet the last few days, cutting out. Hope it doesn't become a major problem, but if it does, just make sure to note it, and I should get a message if it does, and I'll see if I can do anything about it. Now, just to underline what I've been saying already before we get into nature aspect, leadership, and a little bit about the gods and goddesses, those that think belief doesn't shape the world, that when people believe, as we saw in that video there, the warrior, but everything around you, if you live, it doesn't matter if you live rurally, unless you live in a log cabin in the woods, but even that's managed. But nearly everything around you has been shaped by man. The sidewalk, the road, the house, every brick. And it came from the imagination of a man or a woman. And it manifests into reality. It was a thought in a head. It was an idea. The field, where the field grows, or where the old trackway is. It's all done by us. And this is belief manifesting. Now, if you have more power or more willpower or more belief, you get to dictate what everything looks like. And this is very important to understand in our world at the moment. When, as I say, beliefs, people are believing that we have no hope. I see it often in many of, especially on Twitter, which can be quite a negative place sometimes. But this idea that we've lost already, and this is what I was talking about earlier with threshold. We have to make sure that we are living our belief. We are being like we are, not like our enemies or anybody else wants. Like I say, we'll come to some of this when we get to leadership and nature, because nature is a place that's unforgiving in many ways. Uh, Belief doesn't really cut much, so much if you can believe you win. But most battles in nature are firstly a battle of the mind, and only if that battle of the mind is equally matched do we see a battle of wills. You can imagine this with lions. A new adult male lion wants to take over a pride. He first turns up and they check each other out. They start posing and posturing. 9 times out of 10, believe it or not, there is no fight. There's a few growls and a few snaps, but eventually one will back off. We see this the same. I mean, everybody's watched nature documentaries, I'm sure, where they see a pack of jackals and a lion fighting over a piece of meat. There isn't really a fight in most cases. It's a battle of the mind. It's a battle of who has the biggest balls in some ways, right? And that comes from boars, by the way. Boars' testicles swell in the mating season and become very bold. Put it mildly. But it's a battle of will. It's a battle of belief first. Then you get into the physical battle. If the two lions meeting decide that they can win, if they both believe they can win, then becomes the actual physical war. But before that, it is all, like saying, 9 times out of 10, there is no physical war. Because if you can beat your enemy without having to risk injury or any of that, then that's the best. We've seen this. You can watch silly videos on YouTube where a cat will stand its ground against a bear or an alligator and win. Well, we know in a physical matchup, a cat and a bear, there's not much of an option, but the cat scared off the bear. Right? It did the impossible because it never had to rely on the physical because it had already won the psychological fight. And the last thing I want from my folk is for them to lose the psychological fight. Because then we give up without a fight, in reality. We allow ourselves to be overrun. And as I said earlier, we end up creating the beliefs of our enemies or the beliefs that those believe differently to us. We give it to them. We hand it on a plate. So in nature, we say, when it's survival, do you really believe that you can win? And despite all the mod cons of our futuristic worlds, and they are futuristic in many ways, although we don't have flying cars. I mean, I'm talking to people from all around the world now live, right? From a room in my house. But despite all of this modern technology, we still live in a natural world. And the rules still apply. One of the things I always find amusing about the anarchists is the anarchist seems to believe that they're fighting for anarchy when there is always anarchy. Just because there's a group that have got control and told you what to do doesn't mean that they're obeying any rules above them. They don't abide by the rules that you do, I can assure you, because they're in charge. And the leader can always exempt themselves. When we look at the world around us, it is anarchy. It is nature. There's always a battle everywhere you look. There's battles of belief going on everywhere. And they will shape the world around you. The forest looks like it does if there are more oak or more beech. Because one out the other. One stretched its canopy further and sheltered its young and stifled the young of the others. That's the world that we live. That's just the natural world. Right? Now, I'm not so sure how much a tree believes, but that battle is always ongoing, and we're not spared it. Nothing is spared it, despite how distasteful it finds it. The battle is always going. So when you realize that 90% of the battles that are fought in nature don't ever come to a scuffle, they're won just by the pure raw force of belief and willpower and determination, to stand their ground no matter what, then you realize the importance it is to believe in victory. No matter if it's a small victory in a personal life or a larger one. As soon as you back down, you've lost. Yeah, that's just the way it is. And there was a documentary about survival by Ray Mears. I watched it many years ago, and I put a link, but it's in the link. It is in the article I wrote about belief, and it was a really great documentary when I saw it. I mean, quite a while ago now, and I haven't watched it since, but I can still remember so much of it. It's so profound. And this documentary was talking about survival. Yeah, so people that had caught themselves in situations that were terrible and how they survived. And there's a couple of things I want to talk about from that documentary because they're very pertinent to what I'm talking about here. One was experiments they did on rats. They put lots of rats in some water and got them to tread water. There was no hope of... Sorry, I've got this wrong way around. But first of all, what they did was they put them all in they crammed them into a small area with only one exit that was very small, could only fit one rat at a time. So all the rats tried to go. And what they did is they marked the rats that got out, A, and the rats that didn't. The rats that give up, they marked them B. And then after that, they put both rats, A and B, into some water and see how long they could tread it. Rat A's trod the water indefinitely, almost till their bodies give up. Yeah, but they didn't because the experimenters didn't even take that long. They actually took them out. Rat B, the ones that give up and didn't try to get through the hole, that I'm not going to get through that hole because it's there's too many people there's too many other rats trying to get there. I don't know what they were thinking. But whatever reason that they give up showed again in treading water. They give up long before their bodies give up because they give up mentally, and they die because they give up mentally. We have an example of this that was in that show, and I forgot the name of the boat now, but there was a boat that was going down. They had two life rafts, and they filled them, one with the captain and one with the first mate as the head, and each had half the crew each. They shared the crew amongst them. The one with the first mate, he got them doing menial tasks. And they were stuck there for a few days, maybe 2 or 3 days. And he got them doing menial tasks. He was getting them to empty the boat. He gave everybody a job and a duty. And told them as long as they did their job and duty that they were going to be okay. The smaller boat that had the captain in it, the captain had given up hope. He thought there was no chance that they were going to be saved. So he literally didn't order his men to do anything. He didn't tell them to do anything. When they were rescued, and they were rescued a few days later, the first mate and everybody on his rescue boat was in perfect health. There was absolutely nothing wrong with them. They'd been at sea for a few days, so they were, a little bit rough, but other than that, they were physically healthy and strong. The captain's boat was the complete opposite. In fact, the captain himself passed away from his exposure. And his crew that was on his boat were ill, weak, malnourished, you name it. They were in a really, really bad way. There was no difference between those boats. None had extra supplies. None had any advantage over the other. One was led by somebody who had belief. The other was led by somebody that didn't. And like I say, the captain that didn't believe, he died of exposure. When the other boat that had the same circumstances were all in perfectly healthy. So why did he die? It wasn't exposure really, it was his belief. He lost belief, and this is where we can tie that magical nature of children back in. There were stories also in that documentary of children have a much higher rate of survival in the wild than adults. Yeah. Maybe the fairies help them. But when they try to psychologically look at why they had this greater chance of survival than an adult, when you would think it would be completely the opposite way around, is that children believe with no doubt that their parents are going to find them. Thus, they can survive in the wild 10 times longer than most adults who, when they get into a really bad situation, completely give up. They're like, no one's going to find me. All that reason, all those odds start to stack against them in their mind. And before they know it, they've already threw in the towel. But the child's like, well, my parents will come for me. I know they will. Because of that, they can last a hell of a lot longer. Like I say, I'll put a link to this documentary because it's really interesting on the nature of belief and how it affects survival. Because it really shows in real ways life and death scenarios how people that believe have a higher chance of survival in any situation. People that believe, the people that have hope. Like I say, and it shows the amazing minds of children. That doubt, that confidence that they have in their parents. That they will not be left alone. That somebody will get them. So now all of a sudden seeing fairies doesn't seem so stupid, does it? That belief is a real lifesaver. So like I say, most battles in nature are mental. And this is what our ancestors must have come across and realized. This is the only reason I can think that any of us are here, really. When you look back at the struggles that they must have had to endure, as I said earlier, it is only those that had that strong belief, that lack of self-doubt, that won. As soon as we start going, well, we are powerless, that we can't compete with whatever it is that is up against us, they we make their beliefs for them. And it's important to remember that when we deal with reality and what's true and what's not true by consensus, we generally talk about, or we say, the winner writes history, right? Because the winner's belief is manifest. The way that world now is shaped is because of them. They've decided it. Yeah? And it becomes reality. It becomes a lived reality. Even if it is not a real reality, even if it didn't happen. It becomes a lived reality. People live it as real every day. Look at Christianity. Everybody told us that Jesus died for our sins, the Middle Eastern. Now we have devout Christians that will, and I give testament to them in some way. There's Jehovah's Witnesses knock my door nearly every other week. They go out despite everybody telling them they're idiots. And that's something to be admired, that at least they follow up what they say with their action, right? As we said with warrior ethos. They met their beliefs and actions meet, and that's where the key is. When it comes to doing. Like I say, you can walk through that wall, but you're going to be bloody and bruised at the other side, and it's going to hurt. But in those stories of nature as well, we saw a little bit of the aspect of leadership. We saw in the boat story that because of sound leadership, second mate's boat, they were all healthy, and in the bad leadership of the captain, ironically, we had them, they were all ill and on their deathbed, although they were able to be resuscitated, except for the captain himself, who obviously had the most disbelief and fell victim to it. And we also saw this in the children. The reason the children kept holding on the longest because the leadership of their parents, they believed in that leadership without doubt. There was no doubt that their parents were going to come save them. So what we saw there, again, the importance of leadership and how powerful an effect a leader figure can have upon his people or whomever he's leading. True leaders, good leaders, and there are good leaders. Many people have become jaded. This is what essentially the anarchist, what I was talking about earlier, movement is founded on. That everybody's a bad leader, right? We look around us and it's hard to see a good leader anymore. We see all these, and this is one of the reasons I like earlier. I like looking at sports people generally because in politics it's very hard to see because there's so much interference from others. There's lots of people creating and they're not all doing it fair, and that's something we must understand too. But a true leader steps in as the conduit, if you like, of the collective belief, or in many cases, dictates it. He will have his own belief and he will sell it, essentially. He will give others that belief. And this can be very positive, especially in dire situations of survival, or when a country or a nation or an army or whatever has got itself in a real bad situation. Having a leader that can have that power or belief that you're going to get through it or you're going to win or you're going to change it, suddenly people start flocking to that leader. People that would on their own have otherwise collapsed at that point, they would have given in. They see somebody that gives them hope. And this is the true importance of the leader because we can't all have that hope and we just don't have it. That's a reality of it. We don't have, not all of us have that hope beyond hope. And a great leader will have that. A great leader will inspire his people onward. He will inspire them to better things. And also, we can see the power of this leader in ancient battle as well. In the battle of Boyric, the Cimbri, and Teutoburg of the Teuton, we see that when their leader is captured or killed, doesn't matter which, those bonds, that bonds of belief are suddenly destroyed. Once the leader's gone, it's over. Instead of acting as one powerful unit of one belief, they crumble into, well, I don't think this is going to, everybody starts scattering because their head has gone. They've chopped off the head. And that's why they would do such things, or offer single combat if they were honourable to opposing leaders. Because if you beat the leader, 9 times out of 10, the army would walk away. It has no interest. Because it invested that belief within the leader. So when you're looking for a leader figure in any movement, you want to look for somebody that dreams big. Not somebody because you're going to be limited by them. You don't want someone that's going to be giving away compromises left, right, and centre. You want somebody that you believe can do it and dreams big. And then, and if you do find somebody like that, you invest in them with your energy, time, and effort. Trust them. Because then you add your belief to theirs and it becomes a powerful force. And this is what nations and armies were based on. Earlier when we were talking about walking through walls, right? Hannibal defeated the Romans. He didn't take Rome, but he defeated the Romans many times and give them so much because he went through the mountain rather than round them. Yeah, nobody had done that before with such a large army, so the Romans didn't believe it was possible. He did. And because he believed it was possible, his will matched against the Romans was a belief of inaction. There's only one winner. And he got his army through. He achieved almost the impossible. Right? No armies had ever gone through there before. The Cimbri did after. But that's a different story. He had elephants. But what I'm saying is, He walked through walls, essentially, right? He went through the mountain. Small mountain pass. So a good leader is especially needed in times of despair. A time when people are losing hope. You need the leader that is going to believe. And a leader would not only believe in himself, he will believe in his people. Whenever you hear a leader talking down of his people, down of his own, he's no good leader at all. A leader has an unyielding belief in his people. He sees what they should be. He sees what they can be, and he wants to make that happen. He does not believe the naysayers that say they're no good anymore, they're done for, they're this or that. And I see so many around these circles talk down on my folk, claiming to be leaders, right? And they want to shit on their own. I don't think that's what a leader does. As we saw with the football manager earlier, he took a lot of relative unknown has-beens reject. He believed in them. And then they believed in themselves. And this is an interesting aspect as well, because it comes up with football manager. You see it with boxing too, and you see in lots of sport, where their manager or trainer or whoever it is, they have this unyielding belief in or wanting to please them. With that manager I was talking about earlier, Brian Clough, I watched loads of video clips because when I noticed it, I thought it was interesting. The players, whenever they did something, would look over to him and he would do an okay sign. Yeah. And you could see them physically light up when he gave it. They were looking for his appreciation. They were saying, have I done good? Now, you might see this as a weak. Many people see this as weak and saying, well, you're bending to someone's will. But if their belief is what you want and they have more power, then you should put your energy towards it. Because together you're unite. And if somebody has got that belief that you lack and they give you belief, that's what a leader should do ultimately, is impart some of that belief, see beyond it. And of course, some of these egocentrics that believe they've lost their ego will tell you, if I said that I find my greatest strength and greatest pride in service, and they'd probably ridicule me. I'm not enlightened enough. Oh, I'm looking for a leader. Oh, I'm looking for this. But in service, that's what nature tells me about the human, about the Northern European, that it was his duty that gave him purpose. That's some nonsense ideas. And it was his belief in that in duty, belief in that greater good for his folk that made sense. Even in defeat, great leaders will leave their mark. Throughout history, whole revolutions have been sparked by the memory of a leader that's passed, a martyr, if you will. You can see this all over throughout history. That truly great leaders live beyond them. Their belief, whatever that may be, inspires people for centuries, millennia even. It's almost power of belief, and the leader is like poetry in action. Like Ernst Moritz Arndt, he was a famous German nationalist composer at the time of the Napoleonic Wars. And he wrote the most awesome, bombastic, nationalistic, prideful songs, like The God That Let the Iron Grow, etc. Really, really powerful stuff. And then there was, at the same time, there was Ferdinand von Schiff, who took up, talking about the warrior ethos here, really. He took up a position against Napoleon's men in a small town and refused to retreat. He was killed in action, but that inspired Ernst to come back to Germany as he'd escaped north, to write more poetry, and eventually they shook off the leadership. They shook off the dominion of Napoleon. They pushed him back because through the poetry and action, when they saw people that had this powerful belief that they were willing to die for, people started to rally to that cause in that case, and they won. Ferdinand von Schiff died, but he won. His ideal. I'm going to wrap it up soon because I'm not sure what else I can say without repeating myself. But despite any of this anyway, whatever you think of belief, however far you think you can take it, as we saw with the raw survival, it's essential. And as we said at the beginning, it underpins everything. Whether you think you believe in something or you don't, you do. You believe in a million things. And the fact is, if you do not know you believe in them, if you don't not know that you hold those beliefs, then they have more power over you than you have over them. It is important to take control of your belief. Work out what they are. Work out your limits and how you can overcome those limits. Work out your fears. Because like I say, the fears of the captain, the fears of the adult, give them less chance of survival than the non-fear of the children. In some cases, obviously we could argue that there are other cases, but in terms of raw belief, know that in nature many battles are won by pure belief, especially amongst the same species. It's not a battle of fighting who can tear who apart. It's about who looks like they can tear the other one apart and convince them that they will before it ever gets to that point. So despite what you believe, or despite what you think you believe, you do believe in something. And most people believe in their own limitation. They believe that they cannot do it, that it's too hard. And it's easy to practice belief. It's easy to reinforce it in your own life. Whenever you get that pang, I can't do it, instantly acknowledge it. Realize that you've just done that. And then fight it. So if there's that nut you can't tighten on the car you're fixing or whatever it is, and you go, screw this, I can't do it. Acknowledge that instant, what you're doing, and resolve to do it. Then you'll start to encourage self-belief. Something taught to everybody, to have belief in themselves. Like I say, without it, there's nothing. I'll leave it with this. What's better? That you believe the cage of others, you believe their limitations are yours, or you believe in yourself and your ability to make your own limitation. That you wish to draw the lines of your reality yourself. For me, it's quite a simple question. And there's a simple answer. And if we are going to be better as individuals, and better for our folk, and better for our faith, we need to start seeing beyond our cage. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with your time is now. I think it's an apt video for this stream. And thanks for tuning in. And I hope to catch you next week. Bye for now.
You are no random event, no accident of nature. It is not by some curse you stand there. There is no one to blame. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Against almost impossible odds, you came into being. By ancient ancestral effort, your heart beats. Long before you were a twinkle in your father's eye, your forebears endured all hardships. They stared down the impossible, and by their audacity made it flinch. When all hope was lost, they held on, because they had a dream, and that dream was you. Every lovingly sung lullaby by adoring mother was sung in your honor. Every tightly held hand was yours. You are the consequence of every sacrifice by caring mother, the last concern of every dying father. From one to another, from birth to birth, you are the personification of all their love and endurance. You are the point of everything. They are the glorious pillar on which you stand, with their memory in your heart and their blood in your veins. Tell me, what could overcome you? What odds could defeat you? What measure of despair has your blood not already defeated 1,000 times? Now it is your time to unflinchingly hold that stare. Your turn to endure beyond all hope, as the only thing that is ever truly yours is your time, and your time is now. This is your moment in an unbroken drama of life that started at the dawn of man. It is your turn to dance on the edge of the great nothing and show the world who you are made of. For one day, this time will fade into the ancient memory of another. Your actions here will echo through time. In 100 years from now, maybe it will be your memory that reaches through the darkness to say, hold on.